Main Brazil's overall map pool has been a bit of a struggle. I think a lot of it has come down to there was some reports that some of their players have been ill, and so they've been having to use like stand-ins for practice and haven't necessarily been able to get as much preparations with the full starting lineup as they wanted to, and it has kind of shown in their map pool, as it seems like the only maps they've been positive on is Mirage and Overpass, and of course one of those got banned, so they're going to have to really rely on that Mirage pick to try to get them something going in this series and then kind of hope for the best elsewhere.
Well, speaking of Nuke, we are already live onto the server, so let's get underway. Cello holding it down on the ramp, but back and forth frags being traded out, giving the Young Sharks the advantage, and they're going to do the most that they can, just pummeling down on B side already. Bomb still yet to get planted, but is in the hands of Pank. So in the next few moments, once they've cleared all these angles, make sure there's no pesky CTs hiding around. They should be finalized. Now, they haven't dealt with Decon just yet, so there are CTs up there, but Zevi is looking to rotate around the back.
Yeah, man advantage, bomb down. Like you said, Zevi making a good little flanking maneuver here through the vents, depending on the timing, so he could definitely get in behind this retake and make things difficult. And indeed, he is going to exit with that Glock there. 4-on-2 situation now.
Looking like it's going to fall into place nicely. That rotation was so huge. And Shiz, although it does take down Pank, position now is compromised, and Zevi there to just swat him away with the USP. Yell doing his absolute best to try and make the most of this, but the bomb is ticking down so quickly that even if he can pick up the frags, there is not enough time to secure the round. So the Sharks do claim the first round and put MIBR on the back foot.
Yeah, swarm that lower bomb site very quickly. Zevi with the hat trick. Definitely one of the big names on that team, particularly with the AWP in later rounds. I'm sure we'll see that featured out of him. Certainly one of the heavy lifters for this team next to Lukosi. As I believe that's how you say it. I know his name is actually Lucas. So I feel like that's a solid guess. Lukosi? What do you think, Vince?
Lukosi, but
yeah.
You know, the thing is, I'm so bad at pronouncing names, I know I'm getting it wrong. Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to definitely get some mad tweets. It's okay, though. Just correct us. We'll fix it, we promise. Don't get to commentate these guys too often, as we are going to see, of course, the Galil AK buy up here from the Sharks, looking to take into upper yet again here with the quickness. And very solid entries to start things off, as one would expect. This was a pretty heavy investment from Main Brazil. They had an M4 on Yell. Bolts is burning to a crisp with the Scout. They had the Deagle on Cello, and they may elect to save again.
Yeah, it looks like they will. They want to rinse and repeat. They're already going back to the CT spawn. As you say, a heavy investment doesn't really afford them too many luxuries into the next round should they concede all these remaining players. So an excellent start, and the heavy investment as well from Sharks, by the way. A lot of teams would go in for 2 or 3 SMGs. They only had JNT on the MAC-10, everyone else with Galils and AKs. So very good news that they've managed to hold on to all 5 of these weapons. They can use JNT as a spear of the push next time with its expendable weapon. And so looking pretty good. Sharks will be taking a quickfire 2-0. Don't think they're going to be hunted down, though, MIBR, so they'll be relatively content to sit back and hold on to these guns as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the Galil has been pretty powerful for quite some time now. It is very cheap, so I am glad to kind of see some teams be willing to kind of go for that Galil a little bit earlier, where it can still have a lot of value due to its power and its price. As the M4, Scout, and Eagle were all saved over here for Made in Brazil, though Exit and Chiz certainly can't really pack too much of a punch around it. I saw an interesting message that apparently we helped someone with a school project back in the day, so that's a random one, but we appreciate you for joining in the broadcast.
Awesome.
Can't say I remember that, but hope you got an A.
Well, Sharks will be hoping they can kick off this half with a 3-0, already getting downstairs on Secret as well. Bolt's firing off some speculative shots with the Scout, but nothing has connected. So already the Sharks pivoting their way downstairs. Now, of course, MIBR, seeing that wall of smokes, know this is a distinct possibility. So they've already traipsed across Cello with his Deagle. But there's really a lack of firepower here, and a Desert Eagle, especially with the change that is coming in, the body shot's going to do much less. However, if you take the head off, doesn't matter. Even trade out, Molly's being tossed to ramp, and Cello did a good job of fending off the tees for a while, so that rotation has come in quickly.
It has, but they don't really have much utility to break this back open. There's not even a kit, I don't think, on the table for them to get the quicker defuse, and yeah, the USPs have already been whittled down. M4 also off the board. Bolt's able to get a nice little no-scope there with the Scouts getting chased down. Does get over to that M4. 2 Ts are looking to press. He's trying to hold on, but able to do so. Zevi will finish things off. That's a hot 3-0 start here for Sharks. They maintain a lot of weaponry. The economy has built up quite nicely. But this is going to be finally Made in Brazil's chance to make a statement. They're going to have the AWP in Yell's hands, Enforce across the board. Obviously, the Silence Cult now more of an option these days with their most recent change. Does a little bit more damage with the body shots, and it's a little bit cheaper. And so I feel like while before it was kind of a novelty or more of a specialist thing, I feel like now it's way more viable. So I'm good to see the mix.
Yell has just been absolutely smashed in main, down to 21, just purely off HEs. So, although he does have the AWP, so he can still post in position and land those quick-fire shots, it is going to give him pause for thought as to whether he gets constricted in from outside. This is going to put Bolts into a more forward position to make sure that weakened AWPer does have a bodyguard system in place. But yeah, you're dead on, Dust. I'm really curious to see how many players do make the jump across to the A1S now.
Yeah, definitely, again, gives you a little bit cheaper of an option. Not by much, but just a little bit. Like a flashbang difference, I guess you could say, if you're talking about adding a little bit more utility to your overall arsenal. And again, it packs a little bit more of a punch with body shots. Yeah, it still has a slower fire rate, and yeah, it still has slightly less bullets, but can be very accurate. And now, you know, has an option to be a little bit more powerful with the spray to the body, as we are going to see the Sharks looking to take some outside control. Smoke wall is down. Yell, though, playing the secret position here. Op on red, trained, waiting for someone to cross his path, give him a chance to get a shot and maybe even get away. Does spot one, but no chance. They don't even see him, though. He gets another shot off, almost a second frag, not quite, gets the leg shot instead. And now it's a 4-on-4 with Sharks swarming that lower site, but certainly Zevi severely weakened in that exchange.
That's mind-blowing that no one reacted to that.
I know.
Where did they think he was? Like, maybe garage? I have no idea. But as you said, landing that secondary shot into Zevi puts him in an awkward position. Stray bullet finishes him off. 18 seconds to spare. And now the T's need to start to get a move on. Bolt finishing off the aforementioned weakened Zevi. And down goes JNT. Looking so ominous for young Sharks. And nearly a clean sweep. It's only Yell that fell down. And I don't think they can get their hands on that AWP, actually. That's kind of brutal. No one could afford to pick up a second one.
Yeah, that is a little bit tough. Like you said, not really the money there to replenish it. But yeah, I mean, this slows them down. They have to turn around and respond, which means less time for them to get to lower quickly, more time for Yell to relay the information and give his team a chance to rotate, and then, yeah, softening up a target for Bolts to clean up later to get them a very quick man advantage on that lower side shutdown. So a lot of impact from Yell despite the early damage he suffered in the round. He was able to stick alive and find a way to have impact. And now you see the Sharks a little bit worse for wear here. Pank on a Deagle, everyone else on AKs. Utility is a little bit limited on a couple of their players. So it's a little bit tougher for them to get some map control.
Yeah, slowing down the pace here are the Sharks as well. They haven't exactly been the most explosive in these previous rounds, especially not with the rifles. But now, because they understand the situation at hand, a lot of players on that low kind of investment, or at least low money in the bank and surplus, they have to tread very lightly.
It seems like they might be setting up some utility here to maybe clear out top hut, maybe even get some other access onto this upper site, or maybe even throw a bit of a feint. It does seem like most of their bodies are gathered up towards lobby, so maybe even a ramp explosion off the back of this upper utility is a possibility. Bolts and company, though, do have this crossfire established on the ramp room, ready to go. Shiz will not be affected by a Molotov that lands top hut. Now that counter incendiary that does slow this attack down.
It slows it right down to a deathly halt. And in doing so, Pank loses his life, and suddenly Sharks have to completely relocate. They have to go to plan B. And there's not much time to execute this from, especially with a player down. 25 seconds, flash is good to force away the player in hell. But now they're going back towards A again. They've got no time to spare. If things go pear-shaped in the first couple of seconds, this round is over.
I mean, the angles that Main Brazil have are so good. It's going to be so hard to clear this out, especially with not much utility left to spare. And there you see it. Shiz finds a kill.
Yeah, it's looking like this is going to be put to a halt. They need entries, they need them right now. And Shiz, Bolts, and Yell all chip in for frags. It's another clean sweep. They only lose one player. Great news to their bank balance.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where they just did not create enough pressure to burn any of Main Brazil's utility, nor did they really do anything to force any rotations out of Main Brazil. They felt very comfortable with the positions they had on that upper site. Great counter incendiary, forced him to go back towards ramp. They found nothing there, doubled back, and again, Shiz just had such a good position. He had good support. And there was really just no way to crack that open. And so now Made in Brazil a great opportunity to tie this thing up 3 apiece as the Sharks are on very low firepower and just the one smoke on Real.
Yeah, this is really where the problem creeps in and why we were both looking at that previous round to see what Sharks had up their sleeve. Knowing that this would be the situation, already taking a ton of damage from grenades. Zevi and Luca feeling worse for wear. Bolts with the spray, one of the easier kills that he'll be asking for this entire day. JNT in no man's land and no one there to really retaliate or avenge his life. And although young Sharks have silo control, doesn't really mean anything. They don't have that much to really explode on. Low players, now 3 players left and only 1 smoke between the 3 of them. This feels like it's done already.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where all I could really hope for is someone to give a peek and maybe give that Deagle a chance on the top silo to perhaps find a pick, but Made in Brazil playing very disciplined, not giving them that opportunity, holding their ground, shutting down that attempt at a hut push. And yeah, as you said, there was really not a whole lot that they could do in a round like this. And so very quickly, this game is evened up. The hot start from Sharks, but a swift response from Made in Brazil to tie this thing up here early. Economy starting to build now defensively. Buyback now for the Sharks, though. AKs across the board. No AWP for Zevi, but plenty of utility and armor to go around. And so this is a big round. Again, both these teams sit at the top of the RMR rankings. Yes, this is only the opening matchup, so there's still lots of CS to play, but you have to feel that a win here is a bold statement in this RMR race. There's only 1 spot available out of South America, and these are the top 2 teams chasing for that spot.
Yeah, I think most people probably expect these 2 teams to be in the grand finals. Once it's all come and gone, with it being double elim, 1 team will traverse through the upper brackets though and have that 1-0 start in the grand finals. The start of this round though will be Luca on the receiving end of a battering, so MIBR continue their solid defense.
Indeed they do, holding the line all across the board. Shiz maybe even looking for a little bit extra here on this aggression through the hut, throwing down some spam, creating presence but not overcommitting. Able to back up into the site, no problem, no way for Sharks to punish that little feint. As they do just kind of sit at the back of lobby, you can see that they're anticipating maybe more aggression. It's kind of slowing them down from being able to exercise any control. They're trying to come outside. That's a nice whip around from Pank onto Bolts. Bolts had to jump on him, but could not connect the dots. And that's a big pick for Sharks to get it back to even numbers, give them a little bit of space, maybe create a little bit of a scramble out of Made in Brazil to make some rotations. And we'll see if they can exercise an advantage out of that.
Time starting to dwindle away again, though, as they look to try and push past the smoke wall down into Secret. We have seen this a few times. Yell with the right idea, just slightly off on the timing. And although Pank is low, the rest of the players looking pretty good. However, rotations for information are being attained. 3 players from the CTs moving into lobby. This will not be quick enough. They need Cello to have a big moment. And that's the first. The weakened Pank has been finished off. Cello using that smoke to just bide his time. Damage inflicted to Reels in. But it's really through a cat amongst the pigeons to the teams. They have no idea that Yell's above them to strike in. He gets one before he's traded out. Zevi with a spray then transitions into a second frag. And suddenly Exit is last man standing for MIBR. But because all that carnage and chaos came down in a couple of moments, there's still a lot of time to play with on the fuse in this bomb. He doesn't have to fully commit just yet. Trying to divide and conquer between these 2 players. A very good post-plant position from Zevi, though. Almost the perfect counter to Exit strategy right now. And he can be running straight in front. Oh, however, Exit does get this a little bit closer than anticipated. There would have been a clenched moment there, I'm sure, for Sharks, but they get the job done.
Oh yeah, it was a squeaky hindquarters moment there, that's for sure, and all of that. And while you did note that Yell was able to kind of sneak in there, they never picked up on Zevi. He was kind of the opposing man in the shadows that went unspotted. Winds up with a big hat trick round, I believe it was there at the end of it. So big impact. Gets Sharks right back into it here. Obviously a big pick onto Bolts from Pank to open up that outside control into lower, which really got things going for Sharks. And then Zevi just kind of builds off of that with that lower take. Bolts now trying to play a little bit more aggressive towards outside, playing up close red. Does have some utility support as well, trying to play off of it. That nade could finish someone off. Indeed it does. Zevi gone, and he's not done yet, Vince. That's another.
So well played by Bolts, and you can see that Pank desperately wanted to try and make amends and take some outside control. That's why Yell can just pivot in position, shut him down for free. And MIBR, after a fairly disappointing conclusion to that previous round, they look like they should probably on paper take that more often than not. Well, they're looking to make a declaration here and stamp their authority back on this CD side. Now, there is still plenty of time left, over a minute. MIBR's economy, not ideal on a few of these players, so they could really do with holding on to these guns. However, you could kind of repeat the same sentiment for Young Sharks as well, Dust.
Sure.
It's not as if they're swimming in money themselves.
No, I think you're absolutely spot on there. They don't have a whole lot going for them economically. They have really been stunted, you know, losing 3 rounds in a row, winning 1, and now on the verge of having that reset happen here. J&T able to find Shiz, though, maybe trying to create a little bit of magic, but Exit will quickly stamp that out, leaving Luka all by his lonesome. 1v4. Bolt's low on HP, sure. Not a whole lot to hope for. Outside of that, tries to sneak through, gets caught immediately by Exit's M4, and that's going to tie things right back up at 4 apiece. And again, I have to say I'm pretty impressed by this response from Made in Brazil. Again, Nuke is a map that they have not really played, Vince, with this 5, at the very least. And so to see them come out and go toe-to-toe, and again, this being Sharks' pick, this is exactly what Made in Brazil needed.
Especially considering that if I'm not mistaken, and by all means correct me if I'm wrong here, but we did have a kind of pre-game statement that obviously we had to skip because it's getting into the game here, where Yell was talking about the fact that one of their players was ill recently and they hadn't really had that much time to prep.
2 of them were. I think.
Yeah,
Bolts
which makes this even more impressive.
Yeah, I know they were having them play with Knack on a couple of occasions. It was supposed to be their strategic coach who got picked up at the beginning of the year. And so, yeah, they've definitely had some trials that they had to go through. Both these teams have done well within their region. Both teams have made a couple of trips to Europe throughout the year, but neither one has had a lot of success in that regard. But again, they're fighting for this #1 spot. We see Pico swarm into Mini, but it's being stamped out right away by Exit. Just as quickly as they found an entry, Exit was very quick to shut it down. And Shiz will finish the job. So 5-4. To be fair, not much you could expect from Sharks in that situation. This is their real moment here. I feel like this is a round they need to win. They need to try to keep going toe-to-toe with Made in Brazil on this half.
Yeah, I agree. Because even though the score does look pretty close, you have to keep in mind that 3 of those 4 rounds were off the back of the pistol.
Right.
So it tells a bit of a false narrative, I'd say. MIBR, when the rifles have been in play, have actually looked a lot more solid.
No, that's very true. They've also been really dynamic defensively, right? We've seen Bolts be aggressive outside. We've seen them be more passive. We've seen just kind of a good bit of diversity. As we're going to see Exit yet again. He has been so crisp for this team in the upper bomb site. Whether it be cleaning things up or getting openings, he has been able to connect the dots on multiple occasions. And another big opener here for Made in Brazil.
Yeah, Sharks haven't had really too much success when they have conceded the first player in these kind of rounds, and have to see if they can turn the corner here. Yell did just catch the ankle underneath the smoke, so he knows one player at least is pushed into garage.
Yeah, that's a good information there. He'll reposition inside of Heaven to try to get a little bit of a different angle, perhaps towards outside, if need be. Also reinforcing that upper site. We do see Luka is putting that pressure towards back halls and towards lower, so Sharks will have a chance to maybe find a gap in the defense here, maybe try to find an opening onto a site. Cello, though, has rotated, so he's ready to go. He's going to get himself in a pretty nifty little location here on the rafters. In the meanwhile, Pank trying to sneak towards Heaven, but it does seem like Yell is prepared for this potential maneuver. So now it's all about what Sharks can find. Can they find a little sliver in the armor of Made Brazil to try to bring this one back despite being a man down?
Oh, Chel's position's so good, especially considering no one is pivoting in from the ramp just yet. Oh, it's just blood being spilled time after time, and MIBR are looking to go from strength to strength. Now, that is definitely going to keep them honest. Another frag from Reelsin does afford them a post-plant situation, and there is Pank coming down from the ramp now that can now help bolster up this retake. They catch them off guard. Weakened Exit gets finished off by Reelsin, who then takes off the head of Bolts. They have made this somehow work in their favor.
That is an unbelievable play from Sharks. They were being crafty, which is what was required considering how that round opened. They had to do more with less. They were, you know, creeping around, trying to take ramp through underneath Heaven. They were getting into lower through back halls. They were making nice little strides here and there to, again, kind of pique your interest and make you believe maybe there was a chance. Cello, though, when he gets on top the site, he's able to get those 2 kills, and Pank has not made that flank through ramp room yet. You feel like a timing was missed, and that Made Brazil were going to go ahead and exercise their man advantage and clear things up. But Great response from Real in particular, hitting some nasty shots to clear out that lower site in the post plant and put one through for Sharks. An important round to keep this game close, to keep their economy able to put weapons out in front on this round. Both teams' economies right now, Vince, are very fragile. You almost feel like this is kind of a 2-for-1 deal type round. And therefore, that could make the world of difference on who's going to be stepping out in front and kind of controlling the rest of this half.
Oh, no doubt at all. And it also gives me, and I'm sure Sharks, a sense of a morale boost watching this team right now and being a part of it, because as we were saying before, when they lost the first player, they typically crumble. They haven't had a lot of great rounds on the T side, but here we go. They'll be looking to put rounds back to back after the pauses come in. Exit though, oh, that triple spray is a thing of beauty, and he could have just locked the round down from MIBR. Cello from above's gonna pounce in and pivot in for the frag, and now Pank, who's stuck behind the smoke in Hut, can do little but wait and hope that MIBR overextend. In actual fact, it's Yell watching through Squeaky, but really that is all Exit. He's got 14 frags already as we move round into round 12.
Yeah, I'm not sure whose incendiary it was, but you also have to imagine that that was a big assisting point in that round. It seemed like Sharks kind of got held up in Hut on the initial entry, and while they did get the kill, they had to make a big sacrifice to do so. I mean, they were taking some good damage from utility. Exit was able to play this corner here. They're all swinging from one direction, so you kind of just keep his focus. There's no one, you know, causing him to be overwhelmed. He gets to kind of just go one by one and gets the job done and puts Sharks right back on saving ways, and Yell opening things up in a big way with the op in this one.
Especially, as you said, you're painting the picture perfectly just the round before. If Young Sharks were to concede, they're looking at pistols, and this is where MIBR have a golden opportunity to start to just build some head of steam, but also build up their economy. Losing the AWPer of Yell is significant, and these Deegs could still put MIBR to the sword if they're not careful.
Bolts, though, trying to ensure that won't be the case. Does find a nice one there onto Zevi. Luca still trying to rain down with this Deagle, but Bolts has had enough of that. Will rip his head clean off, leaving Real all alone. And while he has been fantastic in a couple of key situations, this is a bridge too far, you'd have to imagine. Does get the one shot out there on the Shiz, but again, that weakened body damage with the Deagle, not going to allow him to get too much of a chunk out of him in the end of it. And Made in Brazil will capitalize. They're up 7-5. Buyback, though, from Sharks is on the horizon, Vince. They will have AKs across the board yet again. Zevi not going to be able to afford an AWP, though. Has to go for AK armor and utility instead. Granted, T-side opping, not necessarily a requirement. It can be useful to get picks outside or really along the lines of ramp room even, but definitely not something that is a necessity. We'll see what they can do with what they've purchased.
Only down to one Molotov, though, which is going to make a couple of areas of the map a little bit more tentative and tenuous to pick up. Pank, though, not for the first time, already transitioning outside, getting behind main. I've seen him get here a few times, but he's typically played alone unless they've thrown in that wall of smokes, and I wonder if that's a little bit too much of a tell at this point for MIBR.
I have to say that most of Sharks' attacks have been pretty straightforward. There hasn't been a whole lot of faking or misdirection. Not necessarily completely telegraphed, but like you said, if you've done your research, it's not too hard to read. Whereas maybe Brazil really have no film with this lineup on Nuke. Nothing that Sharks could have maybe gone off of as far as tendencies or counter-stratting. So definitely maybe helping Made in Brazil out in some ways. So the smoke wall is going to come down late. Bolt still playing this 4-position at Secret could be a big damper on it. Does get spot out though, but is able to slow them down at least with that incendiary and at least get back to safety. But they are still a man down at the end of the day, Vince. But time also becoming a problem for Sharks, which has been kind of a theme in some of these rounds, I feel like, Vince. They've been pressured to the last 20 seconds on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where being a player behind starts to lose a little bit of its disadvantages, because one of those corners may go unchecked, and that's where MIBR can claw their way back in this. Now they're starting to take a bit of heaven control, and Shiz felt compelled to go aggressive. In doing so, he gave his life away. And everything we just talked about, you can scrap, because those angles have been cleared out more than enough time for the plants. It was a little bit shaky for a couple moments, but really that first pick that they got towards Squeaky was a determining factor. And now MIBR have to pull the plug and go and save. They can hold on to these two weapons, so they have no issue rebuying whatsoever. So that will still be good news for them. But I thought maybe Bolts had done enough. The way that he locked down Secret by himself, didn't die, threw down the incendiary, was able to actually rotate quickly. I was starting to get worried for Sharks, if I'm being honest, Dust, because one of the issues that they've had is they can get into these forward positions, they can get that real estate, but it's what they do with it that's been the issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think they pushed Heaven at the perfect time, though, and they did so with so many numbers. It just overwhelmed the site player. They also were able to catch a pick through Squeaky, and they were able to leave Pank, I believe, inside Mini the entire time. And so it just gave them kind of a multi-prong approach onto the site. They were able to keep exercising the man advantage all the way through the round, and eventually able to kind of just brute force their way in. Despite there being a couple banana peels out there on the field, they were able to swerve around them just fine. That being the opening pick that kind of helped things along, and then yeah, just good spacing on that Heaven push, leaving J&T behind on Mini. And great attack all in all from Sharks. Keeps them buying, keeps them on utility. Still able to buy though as Made in Brazil. A couple of rounds left to go in the half. Still a chance for the Sharks to perhaps come out on top when it's all said and done. Oh, that's juicy.
Happily take them if you bolt. Instantly, first 10 seconds, you have the player advantage. Exit, though, is waiting. A position that we've seen them have a lot of success in with previous rounds. So one that is certainly going to be checked by Sharks, but it's whether they have the utility to allow themselves to lock down that position and isolate it from the rest of his teammates. And when you're a player down, on top of that, your utility down, because obviously that couldn't have all been used early on in the round. That's pretty grim if you're young Sharks now. You're kind of crossing your fingers and hoping for the best.
It's always tough when you just lose a player that early, and it happens in such a way where it's really hard to avoid. I mean, yeah, you can kind of know where spam spots are and try to make sure you're not in the way of it, but in reality, it's not like they over-peaked or overextended. They just got wallbanged, basically, by Baltz, who decides to, you know, check a spot that he's familiar with, give it a chance, and it wound up coming through. So, nice advantage for Made in Brazil that was really low risk, but very high reward. Time is dwindling yet again for Sharks, who have definitely mostly played at that slower pace. Baltz now reinforcing this mini garage area as, again, Sharks have yet to show their hand, but we're going to see it now come out in full force on this upper take, it seems. Molotovs and flashes lead the way.
Baltz through the smoke again, has got himself yet another one. Pank, though, returns fire, and now X's position is that little bit more important, but they're vent diving. They're actually bypassing X's positioning here, but the bomb's been spilled down, dropped down on the B side of the map. J&T gonna try and pick up the pieces, but Cello's spot, as has so often been the case, he's got so many impactful frags, is there to lock it down one more time. So whatever happens with MIBR now securing their 8th, they will be leading come the second half. Whether they can extend it to 9 is yet to be seen, and the money for young Sharks, it's good enough to squeak out a buy, but it does put Reelson down to a deagle.
Yeah, it does. And again, I feel like what we've really seen throughout the bulk of these rounds, remember, Sharks have only won 3 rounds outside of the pistol in the following 2. So when it comes to the rifles, Maybers will have dominated. And a lot of that has been built upon them getting such early picks that it feels like before Sharks can implement any sort of game plan that they may have, you know, had prepared, they're losing numbers along the way before they can even really get it rolling. And some of it has been, you know, overextension, but some of it has just been, you know, Made in Brazil being dynamic and being proactive and spamming and, you know, finding openings with aggression. We are going to see ramp room tested here. Cello going to get caught there by Reelson swinging the wide angle. That's a big catch because now he can upgrade his weapon, Vince.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a rifle at Trey's hands. Now Shays needs multiple frags, and he delivers. Delivers with only losing 27 HP in the process. Reels in. Hot off the back of picking up the gun, has dropped it back again, courtesy of Baltz's M4, and MIBR in a commanding position again here.
Yeah, it's just these multi-frags are Made in Brazil, just being able to out-trade the opposition. It's just been a little bit of lacking the efficiency out of Sharks, who now find J&T all by his lonesome in a 1v4. Only thing going for him is that he has ball in his possession. He has a bit of time, but outside of that, all the CT's positions are now shrouded in mystery. Not really sure what's up from down at this point, you'd have to imagine, but looks like he will be testing the waters of lower. He does have 1 smoke and 1 Molotov that could block off a couple of angles and maybe allow him to get onto this site, but still so many numbers ahead of him that he has to get past.
Yeah, 1 slip, 1 falter, 1 stumble, and he's a goner. And MIBR will have a 9-6 halftime scoreline. J&T had a few big frags, but he's not necessarily been the man you look at to clutch. And that's going to do it for the first half. MIBR will lead 9-6. Join us after a few moments to catch the second half. 9-6 the half on Nuke. MIBR started very roughly, it has to be said, going 0-3 down as a result pistol, but once those rifles came out, they were looking sharp. And now we'll have to see if the teeth of the Sharks is going to be capable of rattling through a second pistol round. I hope for their perspective here, Dust, with it being their choice of map, that their rifle rounds at least are a little bit better than we saw on that T side.
Yeah, that would be me. Whoops, I'm sorry, Vince. I'm back now. We're all good. As I think you made a good point there, right? This is a map that you feel like Sharks need to take advantage of, considering Main Brazil's kind of lack of reps with this 5 on this map. And Sharks being a team that's done pretty well on it in the past.
Great shot from Exit, though, just locking it down. Both teams seemingly pretty content to just try and force their way onto the B side. Pank coming down the stairs via Secret. Some players are weakened, and now Shiz has been finished off. Yeldo may have him on the cross, but Bolt's down to 37, and they've lost one of their partners. Exit has been nullified, tickling the bomb, trying to draw the T's back out into the open, but they're not falling for this. They're rolling the dice. They're hoping they get out here, somehow sneak this round away, and Bolt is keeping the dream alive before he gets nullified by Zevi. The bomb, enough time for the defusal. It will be Sharks taking both pistol rounds.
Yeah, that has been their lifeline on this map so far, is winning these pistols, getting these good starts to kick off these halves, and so they need to do that again. The bomb plan, of course, affords Main Brazil some options to, you know, save up here, full buy next round. Maybe even get a couple of upgraded pistols, try to throw something out there. And indeed, you are going to see the Galil out of Exit. You're going to see the Scout out of Yell. So they're going to go for it pretty hot and heavy here. I think there was even enough money for an AK. Yeah, indeed, Bolt spots head armor, and I believe he gets dropped an AK by Shiz. So trying to give him a little bit of a raid boss potential. So they actually pose a really strong threat in this round thanks to that bomb plan, Vince.
Oh, no doubt, which has been the case for the T side for quite some time. If they want to go in for a force, and why wouldn't you when you can get Galils and AKs out? The firepower here is significant. Plus, they've been able to bypass towards Secret again. MIBR just pushing behind the line of smokes. Cello getting up close. We've already seen him land quite a few D headshots throughout the course of the first 16 rounds. So we know it has it within him to fire off a couple more. Young Sharks, they're playing these angles close. Now, when you have 2 SMGs, 2 MP9s tailor-made for these positions, so they're still looking good. I'm just a little bit concerned at how quickly they lost some of this real estate outside. There's still over a minute to play with for MIBR to exploit this.
Yeah, that is very true. Really rapid map control here for Made in Brazil. Zevi able to catch one, but Yell able to swing out. Really good trading positioning set up there by Made in Brazil to ensure that they were going to be able to get something out of that. As Yell's looking for anyone else to cross this mini angle, spots one, gets the tag onto Pank, softened up now for the potential rifles that are still in play here for Made in Brazil. They try to catch Cello off guard, but they're unable to do so. Cello gets one instead and spots another outside. Again, Yell there to trade, and now they keep that man advantage flowing, Vince.
Yeah, this is looking pretty dire for the Young Sharks. Also, Heaven Control starting to be established from MIBR, so they can pivot and pounce from above. Pank has a good idea. Also, the AUG, one of the better weapons to fire at this kind of range. Does a lot of damage to Yell, but can't finish him off. 15 seconds to play with. I love that Pank doesn't re-aggress from the same angle. He is waiting for his teammate to get in position. They line up, but he goes down to the Scout of Yell, and that puts more pressure now on JNT. As he's coming up the fence, and Exit takes his head off. MIBR, with their force spy, have made it stick.
Indeed they have, and it's just off of, you know, the force buy being successful. I feel like Yell was just so smart in his timings on his peaks to make sure he could trade his teammates with that Scout. Again, I like how they didn't commit overly to that fight against the AUG that was over towards Squeaky as well in the end. They were able to kind of navigate past that situation. Cello, I feel like that was such a big kill as well to help them get into the situation. And while Pank was smart to back off initially, he still wound up getting caught out in HUT. And so that's an early round there for Made in Brazil. We are going to see Sharks roll the dice on some Deagles into this one, try to see if they can't keep this economic game of chicken flowing. The Force Wars are among us, Vince. And we'll see who comes out on top. Certainly, you put your money on Made in Brazil, especially with the Deagle not being as potent without the headshots as it used to be. I do have one question, though, Vince.
Go for it.
Why is the bomb still in spawn?
It's a good question. I think Shiz is probably asking his teammates the same thing as he goes back and picks it up for them.
I get wanting to leave it back for safety, but, you know, that's a little much. You can kind of put it out here behind the lobby. There he goes. All good.
Yeah, I'm glad they realized that sooner rather than later. Obviously, if you start to get down secret or ramp or something like that, then you realize the bomb's back at spawn. It's a whole different ball game. Smoke is good, forces the T's out into the open, but Reelsin needs to put some big digs behind it. Very unfortunate not to land a headshot there. It seemed to go through the entire bunch of MIBR, and with his life being deemed forfeit, business on B is ripe. It is open, and that plant will be coming down any second now.
Yeah, a little bit of Matrix Resurrection there, I guess you could say. Got to see little Keanu Reeves a little early. Dodging those digs and getting into the lower site. Now had the 5-on-3 post plant. Not a whole lot Sharks can say about it. Just holding on to Deagles and Armor to try to pose an equal threat in the next round. Definitely the right choice. You get to kind of try this strat again, essentially. But Made in Brazil are making a pretty bold statement here. Coming into Sharks pick a map again they just simply haven't played with the lineup, and they are getting things done. Again, must note how close these two teams have played each other throughout the year. In local leagues, it's been 4 map victories for Sharks to 3 map victories of Made in Brazil. Or I should say series victories, I guess you could say. And then you have a situation where, again, these two teams are topping the charts in the RMR right now. I mean, it seems like any other team right now in this event is a little bit too far out points-wise to really be able to steal a spot away from these two. So, yeah, this is such an important game. Like you said, winner of this, likely a favorite for the Grand Finals and would have that map advantage in the Grand Final.
Yeah, with a low bracket system in play, this would be a pretty hefty blow. Whichever of these teams does end up conceding. Pank already smashed down to 14 as his HP is eroded away, then gets finished off courtesy of the shrapnel of bolts. And it goes from strength to strength as MIBR continue to turn the knife in the back of the Sharks. Cello having no chill, no prisoners will be taken this round. And it'll have to be brute force trauma. And that's what JNT has done. Loses the vast majority of his HP. So 1 bullet and he's done, but he is able to give the AK across the Reelsin to at least have something to play with / save. But again, it just feels like small drops in the bucket because overall MIBR are still favorites to take this round.
Oh, absolutely. And now that one of those weapons have been taken off the board rather quickly, now it's all on Real, who's in the Vent's position. No one going to test the waters on that one. They're going to drop the bomb into upper side. Shiz will be able to get the plant. They'll be able to maintain Heaven as a post-plant position. And again, they certainly have the advantage with this 3-on-1. Reelsin likely just looking to save this AK. Definitely could be very useful. Would give him a little bit more flexibility to get utility and armor. Maybe even drop some utility. That is a thing now. Of course. Interested to see how that plays out long term. I feel like there's a lot of ways you can kind of game that. But obviously not a whole lot of time has passed for teams to kind of test the waters on it.
I think the worrying sign for me as well for Sharks is not just necessarily the fact that MIBR is steamrolling ahead on their choice of map, but they won both pistols. And typically, you know, if you win both pistols on a team, that gives you a significant advantage, like probability-wise, to actually take the map. Especially if they end up getting hammered like 16-7, anywhere up to 16-10. Then you're moving across to Mirage next, which was actually victorious for MIBR the last time these two teams played each other, 16-12.
Yep.
It definitely does start to look a little bit bleak.
Yeah, it's also a map that Made in Brazil have a lot more comfort on. In fact, it probably is their best map outside of Overpass. Of course, that was a map that was banned, so they weren't able to put that into play, but Mirage really has been another go-to for them. They've won their 3 of their last 4 games on it, including against some European opposition. And a lot of their losses on the map have been extremely close when they haven't been able to get victory on it. So definitely a map that is very much in their wheelhouse. And so you're absolutely right. Sharks need to try to clamp down and figure this one out. They do have the opening pick in this round. They have some good intel on Cello's location here, thanks to Pank. Holding a good angle here on Big Garage.
Oh, Pank getting a perfect timing, but unable to finish off the frag onto Yell, who just about escapes. Cello's trying to make a move in towards in the credit card area now. And if Pank moves back into Garage, he could be a goner. Flashes in, but still loses his life. He's done a lot of damage to those two players. But Fall play 4 with just shy of a minute to play with.
The problem is now Cello knew where he was once he got spotted when he missed his chance outside. And so the element of surprise on Cello and Big Garage, the information war, was now equal. And like you said, tried to flash push it, did not work out. They get advantage basically back over to Made in Brazil. Yeah, it's even numbers, but it's usually going to favor the T's in situations like this. Now, time is running a little bit low. That is one thing, and still good positioning here from the CTs on upper side as Luca is able to find Yell in the mix. Bolt's trying to trade out, does swing on the JNT, but again, Luca stands firm defending this site. That's going to be it. Exit tries to save the day, but unable to do so, and that's going to be, finally, a response out of the Sharks defensively. You feel that was a must-win round, Vince, to hang around in this one. But they need to do more. They need to keep it going. They're still 4 rounds behind. There's still an economy available for Made in Brazil, including an op that will come out from Yell.
Yeah, whereas there is no op component on the Sharks at the moment. They're still not quite there, economically speaking, because they did concede 2 players in that previous round. Yes, they've managed to make that lightning strike, but it needs to hit consecutively. You need to start breaking down the T's. They've called their tactical timeout. They know the importance of this round in MIBR. So if they can instantly come straight back in and neutralize the Sharks, break their economy down, yes, Zevi would be able to afford, but pretty much everybody else at 1900 loss bonus would not be able to. Then you're looking at a golden ticket towards the finish line.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is another one of those, fragile type of rounds where both economies are in the dumps. And so someone's going to win a big reward with the victory in this round. Someone's going to find themselves in a lot of trouble. Sharks, of course, the one that could be the more stressed team. Cello trying to make a move here outside. Smoke wall is down. He is able to get to Secret very quickly. You could definitely see the faster pace out of Made in Brazil and how quickly they're able to get this much real estate. I think that's something you kind of noted earlier in the half, and it's persisted.
Yeah, at least the Sharks seem to realize this, though, and they're playing Sevi downstairs on Secret to make sure this doesn't get pushed in. That is another way of contending with it. The problem, though, is you're quite susceptible to just being rushed down, and even a 1-for-1 trade down in Secret will be worthwhile for the T's. It keeps you in a position, additionally, that it's very difficult to rotate back towards ramp, towards the A side should they fall. So I think MIBR are doing such a good job of out-positioning young Sharks and putting them in these awkward spots.
Oh, sure. It's definitely causing a lot of lack of information for Sharks, making it a lot harder for them to make the rotations that they want. Yes, you can rotate quickly through vents, and you have those options, but it still could cause gaps to be there if they're just a little bit off on their reads. As Made in Brazil have yet to make a big move just yet. They still have Cello in an interesting position towards those back calls. They could vent dive. They could still attack upper. They have their options open. They try to go with the dive. They do get a trade, and they do get one down the vents, but Luca stops the other and stops the bomb as well, Vince.
I can't pick it back up again, though, because Shiz is down here. The time is starting to dwindle. 15 seconds. They need a big moment from Cello. We can get one, but not post up anymore behind it. An exit in no position to turn the tides against the Sharks and submerge them one more time. So, young Sharks will pick up the round, and with 3 players left alive, now they're starting to build an economy. Now they're starting to actually make this a little bit more costly. It's MIBR's turn to feel the burn economically.
Absolutely. Now we're starting to see Sharks settle into this game and get that defense rolling. Big round to win, and to do so with enough guns carried over to, like you said, keep that economy flowing in the right direction. While an AK is saved by Exit. As you noted, there's not a whole lot of money to buy around it. Yell does have 4,000, so he has a little bit of an option. Same maybe with Cello, but Bolts and Shiz, you feel, are well and truly out of it in that regard, and so they probably have to, despite the bullet here, maybe go upgraded pistols at best around this AK. Really just depends on how risky they want to get. They do still have a bit of cushion with this 3-round lead, so they don't necessarily have to take any big risk here. So we are going to see another timeout taken, this time from Sharks. So extra time to talk things through. You do see that Cello has got a Deagle. There's some utility being purchased as well from Yell. But that's about it. I think a couple of P250s were actually dropped as well in the midst of all this, so Definitely not a big investment coming out of Made in Brazil into this, looking to take a more conservative approach. Which, again, considering their lead and considering their economic situation, this is the right call.
Oh, yeah. Even after conceding this, they're still going to have a 2-round advantage, assuming that they do concede this. I mean, they have enough firepower on Exit, who's had a really good game so far. I mean, Bolt has been the shining light, but a lot of the early rounds, Exit in particular, was very, very good. So they could still make this costly for the Young Sharks, but as you say, what's the point in forcing and potentially throwing yourself into an awful position when you can just wait for the next round and come back stronger? Yeah, you have conceded the last 2 rounds. It's looking a little bit bleak in terms of what they've been able to accomplish in those 2, but if they can figure out a couple of weaknesses that Young Sharks have, they can still very much exploit that. Utility early on, over on the ramp side with a molly and a flash behind, it's going to keep them at bay. It looks like they may be looking to burst out here, and Rielson may be caught off guard. He dipped back down just as they push past the angle, and now he has to give this one up. First frag goes his way, but there's no follow-up damage. Nobody is there behind Exit, and they just get picked off one by one. I like the idea, but it backfires.
Indeed does backfire. I think the one thing we can point to, though, Vince, is kind of this theme that we have been able to see Made in Brazil get some pretty important amount of control pretty rapidly. And that's, I think, one thing that they can kind of grasp onto coming into the next buy round is kind of knowing where they've been successful on taking space. And they seem to build off of it a little bit better. Just maybe get the timings a little bit better. Just try to get the spacing. You know, maybe don't leave Cello out there on his own. Maybe just exercise that full outside control with numbers and really exploit those back hauls or exploit outside and try to attack into this mini area. I mean, there's so many options open, and they're trying to maybe go a little bit heavy-handed with some utility. Some of it has been extinguished, but there still is that smoke wall outside to get some room.
Oh, this is a bit of a different take. They haven't really played too aggressively outside of the squeaky smoke, and this time they have. And the fact that Luke has gone down means that JNT has to use this silo as a bit of reprieve, and it gives up squeaky control. This is so well maneuvered by MIBR. They're dividing and conquering this site, and it was nothing particularly extravagant. It was just meat and potatoes play, making the most out of a couple of opportune moments. And now it's looking so good for them to take their 13th. And this is kind of what we're talking about, Dust.
Yep.
You can just give up a couple of rounds. You can just have a quick feel as to what the Sharks have in store and then pick them apart when you feel comfortable.
Big fan of meat and potatoes, by the way.
Who isn't? Actually, there's a lot of people aren't.
Yeah, I'm about to say vegans, vegetarians. You really got wrecked there. But it's still a high population of people do like it. Yes, you are correct. As Made in Brazil make a bold statement with that round. It's a nice little lurk from Yell into upper. They also counter Hut aggression, and they get outside into mini, which opens up a nice little upper split for Made in Brazil. So able to come out swinging there, get this to 13-10. Money's still available for both sides, but look at how little is left for Sharks. You have to feel this is a must-win for them. If not, Made in Brazil are going to be skating towards map point. I like this outside aggression. They're trying to change things up a little bit. They know how much that Made in Brazil have attacked this quickly and found kind of free space, so Exit taking completely off guard there. Really nice adjustment.
We forced our way through Squeaky, though, via down on the vents. And with a lot of the components, the CTs being out of position, this will be a post plant.
Yep.
And not just that, but it'll be a post plant, and they'll have enough time to relocate into good post plant positions. So this is somewhat nullifying that extra player advantage. That molly eventually will extend and force Shiz out of position. He was hoping they would peek in a bit prematurely and maybe just overlook that spot. It could have turned into a kill or two. But Yell up in the same position. Cello had so much success on the CT side, and he is going to do more of the same. First frag goes his way, but he does get traded out. They know that Shiz was last spotted on the double doors, and so they do finish him off. And down goes Cello. There's not much time left on the clock. One more kill going the way of MIBR may have been enough, but even without the kit, this is going to be very close, but they should have this diffuse coming in. Indeed, they do. Deficit back down to 2 rounds.
Yeah, you have to give a lot of credit, I feel like, to Zevi. That up-close op kill in window room made the world of difference, and also, again, credit must be given on just changing it up outside and catching their opponent off guard. Yeah, this right here, you feel like Shiz has him dead to rights, and Zevi makes a big flick there. Probably a no-scope or a quick-scope, to be honest. That's a big one to get that retake going for Sharks. It kind of bails them out of what would have been a very tough spot money-wise for them had it not have worked out. Made in Brazil burn their final timeout to try to talk things over. They have just enough to get a pretty good buy here, though. It does lack some utility. And exit only with the Galil. Cello could drop a few more nades here if he wanted over to Yell to give them a little bit more if they so chose. But it seems like he's not. He's going to hold on to that $1,000 instead. And that is where you have to wonder if maybe they just don't even think about the ability to drop the utility.
And that's still very much a fresh aspect of the game. Yeah, I mean, I think you painted the picture very well here, how important this round is for both teams. This could be effectively a 2-for-1. This could be Young Sharks tying us up at 13 apiece, or MIBR just running away with the game. And because they have been so prolific outside, like consistently poking and probing this area, they're already playing downstairs with the org, and they have Zevi watching the cross. It looks like Sharks have made some very good reads and very good adjustments here to try and thwart MIBR.
Yes, it's out there, kind of keeping all of their angles covered. Real able to come back up into ramp room with the MP9 here, trying to let his teammate rotate off of Turnpike. I think maybe a player was spotted, but no commitment from Made in Brazil. They just kind of anti-back up in lobby position. Pank, in the meantime, looking to just kind of hold back Halls from the vents. Smoke coming out towards Mini. Looks like we might see an upper explosion. They rotate right into Baltz, who was ready for that very maneuver. Really nice bait play there. And meanwhile, Chell's getting such deep real estate outside fence. He's going to get over outside heaven. Zevi spots it but misses the shot. And now he's in a lot of trouble.
That puts more pressure on Luca, though, because now he has to watch heaven and HUD simultaneously. But he's going to do it with pride. He just takes them down 2 players and weakens up a third, who's now finished off. 15 seconds left. And reels in, has bagged himself Cello. Baltz needs to clutch out this 1-on-2. 27 kills to his name and already 2 frags in this round. He has been a revelation, and there's another frag and a headshot onto Reelsin. Single-handedly takes this round, 1 shy of the 30 bomb, and MIBR have broken the Sharks again.
Oh my goodness, what a play from Baltz. You feel like he did all he could there. You know, trying to get a more supreme post-plant position, considering the timing of the round, was going to be too hard. So getting up close like this, getting the jump on Zevi, and what a spray transfer to get the headshot there to finish things off. And that's such a big win for Made in Brazil. Like you said, it breaks Sharks. They're now down to just Deagles and a UMP, a CZ on JNT. They're trying once again for this outside aggression. See if they can catch Made in Brazil perhaps off guard. You see that SMG trying to play in the shadows of that smoke as Cello and company start creeping forward. But they clean him out. Not a frag, but they do get the space.
Damage inflicted, though.
True.
So that's at least a little bit of a bonus. But lack of utility here, for me, becomes a real issue. Only 1 flash between the 5 of them. And MIBR have already shown they have no issue getting downstairs. They have no issue closing the gap and making this sweaty. So Luca will take the initiative. If the timing works out in his favor, maybe he can pop off a couple of heads and really rattle the cage. There's one. Shiz finished off, and Pank takes the push round the back and stabs them with the UMP. They have the player advantage, but a low exit now has now been finished off. Headshot delivered from Luca. This round is spiraling out of control.
It is. They're just playing spread out and getting picked apart, and it's just happening again. Deja vu with JNT catching Baltz with the angle on top hut, leaving Cello alone with low HP. Now just looking to try to save this AWP, and Made in Brazil have made a huge blunder out of this round, just getting crossfired in that outside position from Secret and Mini. This was their chance to basically put this game away, and they have kind of soiled it. You do have to tip your hat to Sharks for the creativity and the cunning and the fearlessness to try to take those fights and do the best what they have, but you have to feel like Made Brazil had him up against the ropes and missed the chance.
Yeah, that really is a sloppy round from MIBR. I don't want to take anything away from Sharks, but I felt like they were maybe had their eye on the next rifle round as opposed to focusing on the here and now, getting caught in positions we haven't really seen them get killed from in the past.
Sure.
And now, well, they have to try and do a lot with just pistols, and they're already being burnt down. 2 frags from Luca, who's now positioned at the top of hut. Oh, look at the bomb as well. It's such a horrible spot to be dropped in. Just shy of the vents, and that smoke will not last forever. Now, Pank correctly deciding that maybe I need to focus outside. There's a lack of footsteps pushing towards. Now, I don't know how Cello's managed to take that bomb and escape down the vent. The great escape perhaps coming in, but that really was one out of hundreds of things that have to go his way. And that's really where it's going to end. Zevi on the cross picks him off, and, well, it's just 1 round lead now for MIBR.
Yeah, now the economy has built up nicely for Sharks. That was a flawless victory, so they're able to put themselves in a spot where they're probably going to be able to buy for the rest of the game. In the meantime, Made in Brazil have to take a step back yet again, basically concede the tie at 14 all. And then it's just going to come down to the race towards the finish line, with, again, Sharks having the economic advantage for the long term. And this time it's even less. Like Slanos, some Tech 9s and sparse utility. Now it's just the Glocks.
I mean, honestly, a bomb plant or a couple kills, and this is a massive W for MIBR. I mean, the chance of actually winning this round are so very, very narrow. It would take some massive oversights from Sharks. So I almost feel like the ebb and flow and momentum and really everything is just significantly shifted in the Sharks' favor. After just a few moments ago, it was looking as though this map might even be done. Now, they've got 1 frag, and that's all well and good, but the bomb's been spilled down.
Oh, no.
That was a team kill? What happened there, Pank?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. You don't want to be giving inroads to a team that's on Glocks. But luckily, that's the only ones that were coughed over. They're able to win it, keep 3 alive. Again, keep the economy in a pretty good place for the rest of the half. They will have no problems buying for the rest of the game. Meanwhile, though, Made in Brazil still have to sack a little bit with Yell having to go to a Galil to make sure he can get utility. And so it all comes down to this. This is kind of last chance saloon for Made in Brazil as far as this map is concerned. They would have a much worse force buy next round if this does not pan out. And so this is a chance for Sharks to right all the wrongs of this map thus far up until this point and still wind up securing their pick.
The early damage done by grenades. They're running through the Molotov. That's the bomb down first. Oh, MIBR, what are you doing? They've rushed out 1 by 1. No flashes, no mollies, nothing at all, just dry. And they've ran into their demise. They've capitulated on this last stretch. When the finish line looks so close, and maybe Yell and Bolt can somehow salvage and retrieve this round, but the fact the bomb is still spilled on A bodes so very poorly for MIBR. I do not understand what I just watched.
Yeah, it seemed like they'd forced something they really didn't need to. They had so much success playing the outside control and, you know, being a little bit more calculated. So to go for something so wild like that definitely does become a big head scratcher. The only good thing going for them is that, oh, never mind, that's over with. I thought maybe Yell's going to get the jump on someone with Luca being low HP. Maybe there was a hope, but now that has been completely erased. All on Bolts now. 1v4 finds 1. Does get out into the open of the upper side. Spots the top hut player, but cannot land the shots. And so that is going to be Sharks now at map point. It has been an uphill climb pretty much all the way through. After their 3-0 lead, they were quickly falling behind. And they've been fighting tooth and nail to get back into it, and they've finally done it here just towards the end. Can they get that last little push? Again, Made in Brazil stuck in a worse spot than before. So you fancy Sharks' chances, but they need to just make sure that they play it smart.
Well, Zevi definitely just caught a glimpse of that forward area position from Bolts. And the first 2 kills get put into position. Now, Shiz at least does come back with a MAC-10. That keeps the Sharks a little bit more honest, but they're taking some secret control. Once those smokes clear, maybe that Galil from exit can come to use. Yell is also creeping his way down the vents, using the right time. Luca backing away into Decon, making noise, but he's pre-fired round the corner and he's given his position away. So Luca can just dip out of there, stay on the B side. He knows he can be encircled and needs the cavalry to begin to arrive. Exit's still outside, maybe anticipating some kind of rotation.
Yeah, might try to backstab some type of secret maneuver that maybe this Shark try to use on the rotation. Also, smart play from Luka there to get into a good position in lower sight where he's not going to get swarmed. He's able to kind of tuck himself into a corner where he's going to be a lot safer. 45 seconds left on the clock. Exit now making his way into the lobby position. Again, just trying to catch and see if anyone's rotating, if anyone's moving, try to get in behind his two teammates. They actually flash their way back into upper side. JNT peeks into Yell, gets caught, but Real still holds the line.
Exit last man, but not for much longer. He has been put down. And that is going to be the Sharks getting across the finish line on their choice of map, but they needed both pistols to get it done. And let's be honest, some big mistakes from MIBR along the way.